With that, I'm going to dive into the lecture here. Welcome to today. It is June 7th, Saturday, as always, and I'm going to go over the neck. That pesky part of the body that I think a lot of us neglect because, I don't know, you don't see your neck when you're existing in your day-to-day, but you see your hands all the time, so you're just sitting there as an artist looking at your hands going like, I don't understand this, but sitting under your head without even realizing it is something just as complicated that moves in just as many directions, and that is the human neck. So before I draw, I want to, when you don't hear anything, I just did my intro. I'm not going to cut this from the recording. This is staying in, and I want everyone to know that Simon hit a button, okay? I'm not starting over. Okay, I'm back. I lost my flow there. I really should figure out how to get the chat on the screen of the recording so we can just see all the fun. And relive it over and over. Anyways, so my big thing when you're doing anatomy, and I think this is something that will really differentiate you from, I suppose, more traditional approaches, is I really stress learning the underlying structures. So rather than just studying, because you look at most, where's my brush? If you look at most like neck references, what you're going to find is something like, here is a head, here is a jaw, here is a face. And then they just kind of put one of these muscles right here, and then they walk away, right? And that's usually what you see. Sometimes there's a trap on the back, and that is like most references, and that's great and that's cool, but then like, what is this? What is this? And then what happens if I decide I want him to look up or put his head to the side? All of a sudden, you're like completely hooped because you just don't understand what all the pieces are. And so rather than doing this, not to degrade Pinterest, but doing like these Pinterest tier tutorial stuff that don't really tell you much, I always stress learning the underlying structures. Because if you understand just a few really fundamental pieces, because you don't have to learn every muscle. I don't know the name of every muscle, and I've studied the body for years, right? But if you know like 10, maybe 5 really big structures, that 20% of that area of the structures there are going to get you like 80% of your results, that good old-fashioned 20-80 rule. So what are the underlying structures to the human neck? So your big one, first off, is going to be a skull, because it's attached to the skull. And I'm going to do this in... let's do this in the... What I'm going to do from the side, and I want to do it from the 3/4 and from the back, right? So let's start with black, or we'll just write black here. Boop, boop, boop. Equals bounds. The bounds. Right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up. So this one's going to be the side. This one, we'll just make the all nice and labeled. We'll do 3/4 and then the back. Right? So this one is obvious. It is the skull. Right? He's a cute skull. He's happy. Happy skull. Okay. And then your big one here is going to be your spine, vertebrae, right? And a note about the spine is it doesn't attach back here. It attaches at the base of your skull right here, right? You can even, if you want right now, just take your finger and you can feel that little joint right at the base of your skull where your neck's connecting in there, right? It's a little hole right at the back of you, right in the middle of the bottom of your skull where your neck just plugs in like a cord into a wall, but it's supporting your head, your brain, your hopes, and your dreams, right? And then what we have is, of course, the spine keeps going, boop, 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 and then there's the rib cage, right? Then we have right here is the clavicle. Oh, wow, I wrote that terribly. Clavicle. So the rib cage is not actually important for the neck. Nothing attaches to it. And then back here you got your scapula, right? Your scapula. And Before I get into the 3, let's take our cute little skeleton. What do I want to name him? My gut says Jeremy, but, you know, throw me something fun in the chat. Skelly. Okay, so here's our happy Skelly, right? And then we have, and this goes to my point of the major structures. You don't have to learn, like, you know, you can break down the spine. I think it's all this, like there's C1, C2, C3, like that's the actual vertebrae. You don't need to really know about those unless you want to get really, 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 really good and just be like Mr. and or Mrs. Anatomy. If you just know there's a spine here and it connects at the bottom of the skull and then goes down the back, you're good. You don't have to know all the bones. So what are the major structures? There's only 4. There's the skull, the spine, the scapula, and the clavicle. With that, you understand the bones that are involved in the neck, right? So let's turn this down. Let's turn our buddy down and put some muscles in. What are our major muscles that we need for the neck? First, this fella right here. And I should do a little aside, remind everybody how muscles work. So when you have a muscle, it's this big strand of little itty bitty muscles, right? Every one of these is a strand. I think they're called myofibers or something, right? Muscle is just like lots and lots of these little tiny strands. Boop, 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 boop. Maybe you remember that from biology class, right? And how a muscle attaches to a bone is up here is you have tendon, right? Like a bunch of little hands just gripping on the bone super tight. And how a muscle works is anytime you want to move a part of your body is this muscle will contract. Muscles only contract, right? They go from being long and loose and they bunch up. They get all tight and tense, right? And they get all bunched up. So like if, for instance, your arm is hanging limp and you want to bring your hand to your shoulder, you flex your bicep. Your bicep muscles will tense up, right? That's what a muscle is. And the big parts I want you to remember are the tendons and the muscle fiber itself. So what does that mean? If we go over to our skeleton here, there's tendons on the base of your skull. Up, 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 up. And how this works is this muscle here, the sternocleidomastoid, pow, there's a $10 word, attaches from your skull and comes down to your clavicle. And it actually kind of breaks here because there's 2 little muscles. What I got to remember is that it kind of has 2 parts, right? There's a part here and there's a part here. Right? So there's your, oh, how do we spell this? Sternocleidomastoid. Yeah, I'm going to name my kid that, right? That sounds great. He'll love that. So, there's one of your big neck muscles. I'm going to make that a little smaller. This one is super, super important, right? Now, why am I talking about tendons and attachments? Because this is going to be really important when you think about how the neck moves, right? Because you're going to know that there's an attachment here and an attachment here. So when this head starts like looking up or looking down, because remember when I said muscles contract, how do you pull your neck down or to the side? One of these muscles, that I'm going to put more in, are going to be pulling it in a certain way. So you'll understand when the head turns in a certain way, that muscle is going to bunch, and when it bunches, it gets thicker and bigger, right? Like here's another great example that a lot of people mess up, and maybe we'll get into this on the side or the shoulders, is the next one here on the back is your trapezius, right? Your trapezius muscle, right? Now when I'm talking about bunching, if you have just like if you just have a head here, right? I'm going to just sketch in a head. Here's a neck, right? And he's just chilling. His shoulders are limp. If this guy were to hunch or like raise his shoulders up, right? He wants to bring up his shoulders. These traps bulge because the muscle, when it contracts, the fibers are tightening and fattening, right? Like over here, that's what's happening. And so that's why this whole thing is important. Oh, geez. That's why this is important. This knowledge of how muscles contract and fatten is super important because you understand the underlying function of the muscle, when the shoulder comes up, you're knowing the trap is going to get fat because you understand that trap is pulling up the shoulder girdle, right? Does that make sense? I'm going to pause for a sec and hope somebody says yes in the chat. Does it make sense why we should know the fundamentals of how a body works? Good, I'm seeing typing. I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna wait to see some agreement. If I see a no, I'm gonna throw my tablet out the window. You can say no though if you want. It's okay. I just want to see. So yes, because then we know we can ignore it. Excellent. That's what I want to see. Okay, I see it. Muscles contract and expand. I think I get it. Yep. It'll make sense with time. So back to our major muscles on Skelly here, which I think was the name we agreed upon as a collective. And then, where was I? Trapezius, that's a big one on the back. And then another important one, this is not a muscle, but your trachea. I'll do that in blue because it's not a muscle. This is actually your windpipe, right? 1, 2, 3. Right? Your windy pipe that you breathe through. This is your trachea. I should have been using a thinner brush. It looks way nicer. I got this big, fat, ugly one, right? And then, I don't know, I'll just grab a purple here. There's some muscles here. Don't worry about them. There's some muscles here. Don't worry about them. They're not really going to be important unless you're drawing like shredded 3% body fat bodybuilders. On most people, that's not super relevant, right? Oh, and I should put the attachment, the trapezius is back here, back skull. And it comes down onto the scapula, right? And with these 5 bones and these 2 muscles and this one windpipe, you can make sense of almost any neck position in a way that looks pretty darn accurate. Now, did I name all of the minor muscles in the neck? No. Did I talk about the esophagus? No. Larynx? No. You don't need to know every single thing. You just need to know the strategic, big, important features and then make them do the work for you, right? So I know anatomy can get a little daunting because you look at the map, you know, like you go like neck anatomy and then there's like 50,000 neck muscles. You're like, well, I don't know which ones I'm supposed to draw. Well, I'm telling you, these are the ones that are going to get the work done for you, okay? And I want to add a little bit of a note here. Why the trachea is super important is because the skin, and I don't have, yeah, we'll do the black here. The skin connects at the bottom of your chin and then it comes down over the trachea. And that's how you get that like a really expert looking chin, is because there's that little fold over the trachea, right? Instead of just coming straight down, you got that little bit of pooch under your neck. And that's a real like, I know what I'm doing little moment there, right? So you can see how the trachea just underneath, right? Just floating underneath, and Mr. Skelly is having a good time. He can breathe. So there are the what is this? This is an empty layer. I don't want you. I don't like you. Okay, so we're going to name this group Skelly. And I'm going to just copy that. We're going to go back to our little side-by-side, 3/4, front, back, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to show you how to map this all together. So go back here. Make Skelly nice and small. Put him over on the side. And we'll make this small, or we can just, we'll leave it. So let's then, we don't need this. Get rid of all these labels. They're just holding us back. Labels always hold you back. That's a lesson. Take it from Satsu. Yeah, just know there's some lines. Exactly. Okay, so we know our major bones. Let's drop them in, right? This one is back. Make sure these are level. Up out there. Remember? Bottom of the skull. Here's your spine. Down it comes. Right? Clavicle. Scapula. Right around there. Can't see the rib cage. Can't see the clavicles. And then this is the jaw. Right? Here's where we have ears. If Skelly had big elf ears. Pardon me while I just drop these in. I don't know if anything interesting to say about this. Big smile on Skelly. It looks kind of dumb, but it's okay. Sketching it in real quick. Okay, we got our skeletons. Yeah, here, let's put a... Maybe he's nervous. Uh-oh. Don't get the neck wrong. I'm getting caught up in drawing a stupid skeleton face when you're all here to learn about the neck. It's okay. I'm starting to get distracted. I'm drawing. I'm having fun, and it's not good. It's bad. Fun is bad. Never have fun. Okay. So, do we see how the bones all fit together here? Right? The bones aren't super critical. And please have fun. I need time to copy. Yep. So, well, even though you're not gonna be able to like tell me as I do it, but I want you to think to yourself right now before, and if you're watching this later, just think to yourself right now how you think all of this is going to attach onto these, right? All you have to place is a trachea, a sternocleidomastoid, and a trapezius. That's it. Where do you think they go? Here, I'll do a little what's that Jeopardy song? Ba-da-ba-na-ba-na-na, yeah. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Bam, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. Okay, show your answers, please. Who's gonna win the... Doesn't Jeopardy have like really low prizes? Who's gonna win the $3? Well, you know what? You have it now. You can listen to it all you want because I will be sharing this later. Let's just turn these down. I will just slap that off. Cool. Let's drop our... Okay, we're gonna go over the side. We did the side. This should be easy, right? This should be super easy. Shout it at me. Where's it connect? Come on, it's like Dora the Explorer. Where's the sternocleidomastoid go, niños? Right here. Boom. Muy bien. All right. Trap. You already saw this one. Comes down, connects to the scap, and then goes down the back. Where's the boy's trach? Right here. That's it. Right, and if you want, you can do a little, if he's a very manly man, you can put a little Adam's apple on there. Right, the Adam's apple, like if this is your trachea, has like these bulges on it. And then the Adam's apple is like this thing just sitting on it. So the skin will like kind of do that. I don't know who designed that. I guess take it up with God. It's kind of weird. Whenever I like pay attention to my Adam's apple, it's like a little jarring. Kind of strange. And I will say, if you're drawing women, these muscles are all the same. Women do not have different muscles, despite what Republicans will have you believe, or I don't know, Democrats. Not to make things political. I'm just riffing here. Don't take any of this personally. It's just you would downplay the thickness of the muscles, right? So women wouldn't have super jacked mastoids or trapezius. You just turn it down. Like for instance, it's a little side here. You know, like, remember when I did our dude from the front? Instead of doing like a big trap like that, women tend to have kind of small traps, right? And that's just all it really is. It's just you do a really small trap. And like, I haven't even done the rest of the body. And like, that was kind of feminine, doesn't it? Right? Well, I don't want a feminine. I want a big, like, oh, that's manly, right? That's all I did. I just changed what the traps were doing because women have smaller muscles on average, and so you just draw the same body, the same bones, the same muscles. You just turn it down on women, right? Bones are the same thing. You don't do as thick of bones. You just kind of turn the upper body down by like 20-30%, and all of these things still work on women. Vice versa, if you start from women like positions and you turn things up by 20-30%, you get dudes. right? Or things that look like dudes, because that's sort of the fun thing about the drawing is there's all these sort of psychological cues in people's heads on average, and you just kind of play with how they interpret an orientation of lines, you know? Theory of art. Anyway, so let's leave this one kind of androgynous, right? This character's left side. Why is that lagging? Thank you. The left side is manly. The right side is feminine. That is some probably very unhealthy androgyny. That sounds like it's going to be some real muscle imbalance, injury issues. Anyways, so I know you all placed the side one, no problem. So let's move to the 3/4. Uh-oh, that's different. What did we do? Yeah, they didn't do their lifts on the side. So remember, it connects here, and it comes down to the clavicles, right? Same thing. Boom, boom, boom. Clavicle, clavicle. So when we put on our sternocleidomastoid, comes right down, right down, and we have a little fork here. Same thing. Boom, boom. Look at that. You can kind of see the trap from the back. Right, there it is. Then we drop in our trachea. Right? Just like that. And that's the basis of a neck. Right? And I'm going to just go over here and we'll just drop in the back, and then let's start getting weird with it. What if we start like looking up, looking left, looking down, looking right? Right? It's going to get crazy. Oh, right, we need our connections. Boop, 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 boop. Bunch of tendons on the back. I'm not going to be super accurate with this. We'll just kind of move on. As far as the trap from the back, I would recommend you have these kind of two little, there's like these two pieces of muscle that kind of line the side of the neck, and then they come down like that. I'm not going to get into the really advanced, like, because the trapezius has this like thing where like butterflies, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to get super into that because that could be its own thing. Like every single muscle could be a goddamn lecture because the body is just stupid. My God. But that's your general trap shape, right? It has this kind of butterfly-ish shape to it. Right, this attaches here. Pretty sure, right? Maybe I remembered that wrong, but I'm pretty sure it does. And there's a bunch of attachments along the spine. Don't worry about that. But the big one is that there's some scapula and some skull ones, right? Because we're just doing the neck. And of course, you can see a little bit of the sternocleida, right? A little bit from the back, just a little. Most of that's going to be seen as skin, right? We'll use the black for that. Where it's, you're just going to kind of see this. Oh, I just actually had a fun idea to throw on top of all this. So what if we turn this low? We have our muscles, right? Because I remember talking about the underlying structures. What's that? A minor stroke. Yeah. Right, so if we're drawing our character, we have all these muscles in, we now know that here comes the head. Whoops. Right, so here's a jaw. You know, there's an ear here. Okay, there's our ear. There's a schnoz. We come down. Right, a little bit of that pooch there. Trachea, muscle, clavicle, shoulder. If we start turning that off, suddenly that's a pretty good looking neck, right? All I did was trace over the areas of the underlying structures, right? You can get like, you know, you can get weird with it. Where like, here's a shoulder, blah, 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 just throwing everything together. But this is just kind of a light trace to show you how these underlying structures are really nice. And they're going to be really useful when we get into the weird stuff, okay? So same thing, like if we were to just sort of, you know, I'm just going to kind of trace in the general areas, blah, 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 blah. Maybe you guys have seen Hotel Transylvania, blah, blah, blah. Right? Trace over it, same thing, not too bad. He's got a thick neck, right? But you get the idea at this point, right? Yes, the clavicle is the collarbone. That is a fantastic question. Is this making sense for underlying structures? Are we ready to dive into weird neck stuff? So As far as, yeah, that's a good question. Is there a way to discern which bones and muscles will show on the surface? So that depends really on understanding how the muscles connect and where they connect. Like, so for instance, I don't even probably have to draw this. Just take your hands and you're going to just feel your own body a bit, right? So your collarbones, your clavicles, if you take your hands and you press against them, you can feel bone, right? You can feel your clavicle, right? So that's bone. And now discerning which bones or muscles will show, well, it's just the skin, just like how the body works. Is you have all of these structures built on more structures built on more structures. And so, like, as we pointed out here in this little pooch thing here, its skin is just this thin layer of tissue that just sits over all of your bones and muscles, right? That's all it does. So if you understand what muscle and what bone is where, you'll know when to discern whether a bone or a muscle shows on the surface. Like, for instance, if we talk about like our buddy here, right? Clavicles have this knob right here that's really visible, these knobs. That's because the bone tends to just kind of be right under the skin. So that's why you see those really strong knobs for the clavicle, right? Vice versa, if someone's like doing a very extreme neck position, like maybe they're, we're going to do this next actually. Like say he's turned to the side and, right, if he turns his neck, this sternocleido gets really prominent if you like twist your neck around, right? So, and that comes back to the idea of knowing how the muscles flex and tense, because if someone moves their body in a certain way, that's going to call for a certain muscle to contract and move the body in that way. You're going to know, because you understand the importance of underlying structures, that should be shown under the surface, right? But by that same extent, if they're moving in a certain way where that muscle should be relaxed, you don't want to really show that in that area of skin as much. Does that make sense? Because that's pretty theoretical kind of stuff. I'm not losing anybody. Hopefully everyone's nodding in their respective time zones. Nope, it makes no sense. Yeah, using all of my neck muscles to nod. Yes, so if you like put your hand on your neck and you feel yourself nod, you feel that. This is kind of confusing. What part of it is confusing? Let me help you. Or is it just that it's a lot to take in right now? Is it like the pieces make sense, but... Okay, no, we're getting to weird positions. We're going to get to it. That's the exact next thing, and that's why I thought I should just do next today, because you can see I've just spent a half hour just laying out 5 bones, 2 muscles, and a trachea, right? And that's already just been half of the lecture. So, funny how that works. Okay, so we got Skelly here. He'll put him in there. This was the front side 3/4. Let's grab a new layer here, and pardon me, I'm going to just take in some water. Talking for an hour straight tends to dry out one's mouth. Okay, so let's start with, let me think here. Let's start with, so we're going to do a head looking up. We're going to do a head, oh, I got it. I know what I'll start with. I'll start with this one. Looking up, right? So we have a circle. I mean, it always starts with a circle, right? Right, there's a head. Like, if you were to just draw this head normally. Hey, there it is from the side. But now he's looking up. Dang it. Oh, what's this? All along, I thought the neck was a stick that connected to the head of the... But here it is being more complicated than the Zelda timelines. The Zelda timelines are incredibly complicated. I think the Japanese are making that up and justifying it. And it doesn't really work. It's okay. The games are pretty great. Tears of the Kingdom was just... I loved the Underground. I thought it was so cool. All the weird like ferns and like felt like being in some like prehistoric pre-world, like some Cambrian. I think that's the era. Just great stuff. So Game spoiled the plot for me, though. Did it? Way to go, Zelda. Anyways, I should focus on next. I'm getting distracted. And, you know, I just start talking about Zelda for a half an hour, and then everyone's just sitting here like, dude, Satsu, shut up and get back to the looking up part. I can't. Help me. Right? So, we're looking up. What's the big important part? Right here. Boom, boom. The neck. Spine. Right? And then we got our scapula here. Collarbone. And the collarbone's more like that, but I'm trying to show the whole thing. Right? And then the rib cage. Up. Buddy's looking up. Well, let's just plot in our friggin' stuff, man. So remember, there's a connection. Boom, 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 right here, right? Boom, boom. Here's the sternocleidomastoid. Right? Now, I will do a little aside here. When you draw, you don't have to plot in all the muscles and bones, right? This is just to make sure you understand where things are. So when you get lost, you can go, hold on. And you stop and you sketch it in, and then you kind of logic it out and go, okay, it should look probably like this. And then you're good. Then you got it, right? So this is just to make sure you have the references and tools so that when you get stuck, you can unstuck yourself, okay? That's what we want. And there's some muscles here, whatever. Trachea. For looking up, here's a little kind of thought for you to think of. So here's your mouth, right? Your tongue, your teeth, whatever. Your trachea is how you breathe, how air goes into your body. So it runs down to your lungs like this, right? So when you look up, it kind of stretches out because the muscle and the tissue, well, it's not muscle, I don't think. No, it's not, because you can't contract it. When you look up, that's going to stretch out, right? And this is why the underlying structures are so useful, is because if you can kind of get your 3D map in your head, when you move things around, that map doesn't leave you. You're like, okay, yeah, so I know where the trachea is. It's going to be doing something around here. Right? And so then it kind of comes down into your lungs so that Skelly can breathe and enjoy earth stuff. I don't know. Skeleton stuff. Oop. So then when we come in for our lines, you can see how this was like pretty simple. Like I just plot them out. Right? Here's our nose. Oop. There's a chin here. Here's an ear. Right? Now, because the neck's looking up, this skin here, it isn't going to just stay attached. Skin is pliable. It's going to stretch a bit and then come down. See that? Is that like a little light bulb why this is important to understand? Just some basic biology and some physiology. All of a sudden, like this thing that probably causes a lot of pain to a lot of artists is just like, oh, maybe you feel a little silly when you're kind of like, oh, it's just, oh, that's not that bad, right? It's the same thing with the other muscles. Just kind of plot them in. And you're gonna know this scrunches a bit here because tissues that comes together get scrunchy, and then here's his arm. If we turn this off, it's not that bad, is it? It's pretty close. I don't want to focus on that too much. Now you have a guy that's looking up, and it looks like a pretty good neck, doesn't it? Is that like making some light bulbs? Anybody? Chat? Is this making sense now? Oh, wait a minute. My chat stopped scrolling down. I can't see what people are saying. Hold on. Apologies to anybody watching the reference video. Discord has abandoned me. Okay. So is this demystifying weird angles a little bit for you? Because instead of like just kind of going, I don't know. There. You know what I mean? Okay, well, luckily, for your flickering light bulb, I'll read that out. My light bulb is flickering. I'm understanding then, being confused, but it's just because it's new. I like that the light bulb is flickering. That means that you've got something to bite on and you can figure this out. So let's try another weird position, right? This is the classical looking up going, I don't know. What about, here, let's do a head to, here, from the side. Where would I say this? So like here. We're going to just sketch this in. What if we put our head to the side, like we stretch it, right? Yeah, the classic, no, Padme's dead, no. So this one is like if you stretch your neck to the side we're about to do. So you start with your head, right? Circle, put in that jaw. What comes next? You got to imagine the spine's here, right? You got to imagine it and kind of up, and it's going to be in the back because you can't see it. The spine goes away that way, right? Your clavicle, right? Drawing our bones in. Maybe a scapula here, right? Let's come in with our muscles. We know that the sternocleidomastoid comes down this way, right? We know the trap goes out this way. We know there's a trachea, right? Hopefully you can see these. Maybe I'll turn that up, right? There's the pieces. You can see how quick I just kind of blam, blam, blam dropped it in, right? So let me turn that down. Let's go grab our lines. So here's our ear. Here's our jaw. Here's some beautiful eyes. I don't know, maybe, he's relaxed. Oh, it's a good stretch. All right, there's our clavicle, shoulder, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get the shoulders. We're going to just give him some shoulder pads. Right? Some spikes on it. He's an orc. Oh, no. All right, come here. It bunches up. Maybe a little line in there, right? Oh, even that quick doodle, that's actually, yeah. Actually, the shoulder's a little too far over. The shoulder pad should be over here. All right, you guys drawing along, thinking along, that's making sense? Let's think of what are some other weird positions. What else throws you off? Give me something in there. Yeah. I love how random this can get. It makes this so much more fun, and also it's so relatable. My brain interrupts me all the time. Well, yeah, I thought it'd be fun, right? Because these things can get so dry. So I'm trying to keep it kind of a little on the more light side. Angles from the front looking straight up or from behind. Okay, sure. So, it's easy. Here's the process. Draw your circle. That should be a little bigger. Okay, we draw our circle. He's looking up. Right? So there's our jaw. Now remember that it's going to be kind of like that. Got our spine, clavicle, right? And then we just bring in those friggin' muscles again. Remember, there's a trachea here, right? Here's our trachea. Sternocleido, trap, right? So we turn it down. We come in, and we drop in. So we know that now this is a little strange because there's a nose around there. Eye, right? Ear. Here, no, I keep this simple. So, right. Here's our head. Remember that skin stretches, right? You can like do a little line here to sort of show, because there's this pooch here, right? It comes in the trachea. Actually, I should put this a little over. This is not quite right. I put the neck too over as I'm trying to emphasize how things work. So, and this is an important part of drawing. Even me, after thousands and thousands of bodies, you're like, oh wait, whoops, but then you'll spot it, and you just go, okay, it goes over here, because you'll learn to see when things don't look right, and that's really important for drawing, is when stuff looks wrong. All right, and so you got this whole thing, and then you got your trachea, bam, 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 bam. You can make it kind of weird if you want, right? We don't need that there. That looks kind of weird, doesn't it? With all the how do you differentiate the bottom of the head from the start of the neck? Okay, so I guess this kind of brings it up right now, right? Here, let me go find a reference of someone looking up so I can break this down for you real quick. I'm just gonna hop over to Pinterest and I will show you a human neck. No, all pins. Looking up. That's actually a great idea. I like the suggestion is that I should find, here we go. So let's grab this girl and let's look at real humans doing real human stuff. Because now we have the idea of these small sections here. Let's look at some real people. This is a picture off Pinterest. Girl looking up. And let's look for a boy looking up. Okay, perfect. Because you wanted 3/4. I'm just scooting around here looking for a 3/4 look up. Perfect. Okay. Okay, here's some people. Let's have those looking, since we're doing left facing, I'll keep it left facing for now. Okay, so this comes back to the point of, I think it was Simon said this, how do you differentiate between skin and muscle? So, skin is not some loose burlap sack you've put over your body, right? It is attached to the underlying, I believe it's, is it fascia? I don't remember the specific. There's a specific type of connective tissue that your skin is attached to, and you'll have to forgive me, I'm not like an actual biologist. I've just, you know, casually walked through the biology campus and gone like, oh, okay, got it, and then walked out. But the skin is attached to the underlying structures, right? So it's not just like this, you know, like what's that guy from Nightmare Before Christmas? The Mr. Oogie Boogie, right? That's his name. Yeah, we're all meat mechas, exactly. But so it's not like this big loose sack. The skin is attached to the underlying structures, right? But sometimes it's attached to like a connective tissue, or sometimes it's attached to, I think it's attached to the bone. I don't know how it works, but like it hugs the bone somehow. Do not. Luckily, you know, I'm an artist. I'm not a physiologist. I can't really tell you how it attaches. But we can see here, I don't want to like get myself, you know, start committing to like, well, here's how the skin works. And like, I'm actually not entirely sure. I know how to draw it, right? So here's a good chance to map in the major structures on a human, right? So you're like, how does it work when the head is tilted up? Well, let's bring our colors over so I'm not scooting around like some dog on its butt. We use black for the bone. This is the bottom of the skull, right? And if you think about a jaw, how a jaw works is it's kind of like this, right? And he has his teeth. Be like what? Probably a bum, 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 canine, bum, 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 right? Because if you look at a jaw, it's kind of creepy, kind of cool, right? If I just grab a human jaw, perfect. Yeah, I just need to see, what do we got here? That's good. Let's just grab this stock image here. Oops. It's getting kind of creepy. Okay. Right, if we take like a jawbone, why did I put this creepy thing here? It's because I want you to show you that it's actually kind of thin, right? It's not like there's this big piece of bone sitting here. It needs room for that trachea and that tongue. Like there's a tongue here, and then the trachea goes down through your jaw, right? And underneath that, it's like, for instance, his tongue is like in here, and his trachea comes down like that. See? There's his little Adam's apple. And so the skin, what it does is it just kind of follows along the folds of these underlying structures, right? So you're like, well, how do I draw a skull looking or a person looking up? You're just going to think of these underlying structures. This is back to my point of when you get stuck, and the skin just kind of follows things, right? It's not a loose sack, but it's not like it's not, well, skin tight, but there is a little bit of limpness to it, depending on, age and elasticity and collagen, blah blah blah. And so when I come in to draw the skin, I have these underlying structures, and I'll plot out his, right, here's his mastoid, right, there it is. And you can see here that on actual humans, and it's kind of doing this, but it's not like you can see every single detail. But you can kind of see it, can't you? Like if I were to turn this off, you can kind of see here that he's got, here's that little split I was talking about, right? It's right there. Right, you can make it out. Same thing over here. There's that split, comes down the side. You're right, you can kind of see it. So it's not like you're supposed to draw every single detail. The point is of these major muscle groups and these bones is they're to help you put things in the right place. So when you get lost, you're not like, okay, head, stick, 2 hours of frustration, delete, never draw again, and now you're just in this weird little purgatory of like, okay, I want to draw, I'm kind of into it, but also like, it makes me want to put my hands through the wall. Can you draw over the refs that you drew all the other examples so I can have a copy and get practice? When you draw and read other stuff, I can't copy super well. You draw over the refs like you... Oh, over the human references? Yeah, okay. That'll be good for the remainder of this lesson, I think, because as you can see, we're already coming to an hour on just necks. So I will do black for the bones, right? Back here is his... Oh, this guy's got really narrow shoulders. So there's his... Here's the scap. I'll put this a little over here. And I'll wrap this puppy up. Right, there's a bone. It's foreshortened. You won't see a scap, but it's back there. What layer did I put that on? Oh, of course you did. Of course you did. Okay. Here, just drop this in for folks. So you have it for reference later, and then I think we'll probably have a lot to digest at that point, and we'll probably call the lesson. So I'm going to come in and just, you can all watch me work my magic. Remember, and I'm going to actually show that there's this kind of, right, there's this sort of plane to the bottom of the jaw, right? That help communicate the thinness of it if I do it like that. That there's this plane to it. Same thing over here. There's a plane. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, wait, it is a plane. It's not Superman. It is a plane. Right, so here's your trachea. Coming down. Same thing. Trachea. Coming down. And you can see, here's that like plane of sort of skin where it kind of sits like this, right? And that's what's happening, is there's this sort of plane. There's this sort of like pouch here, right? Does that help you get across if I put these little lines on it? It's like, oh, okay, right? There's this little kind of, this little, I don't know how to describe it. There's just sort of like this little, if like you put your neck up, you can feel it tightens because it's stretching against all the underlying structures. Whereas if you put your head down, it gets all fat and loose and bunchy because it's just like this little piece of skin. Like I think it's called a gusset in pants, where if you stretch it out, it gets tight. If you bring it in, it gets all loose because there's extra fabric to accommodate for the stretching. And that's the same thing your skin does. Hopefully that didn't lose people. Okay, come here. Boom, boom, boom. Why are you fighting me? I love you, computer. I love you. I'll use the purple for like the, you know, there's muscles in here and there's lots of little, like you'll notice when you do these neck studies, there's like, why is it more than just the two major muscle groups? Because there's a lot of muscles in your actual neck. But I only want to go over these big pieces because a trapezius and a sternocleidomastoid help you orient the head in weird positions. Because those are the big boys, right? If you didn't have those, you would not support your head. But those two puppies do a lot of the work for your like 10-pound. What was the Jerry Maguire fact? The kid's like, you know, the human head's 10 pounds or whatever endearing shit he said. You know the one, right? Of course you did. There's boom, boom. Anyways, I'm. It's actually not the. His neck is actually kind of thin. These models, they don't eat enough. I heard the model diet is like just eating a bunch of peanut butter. So they just don't eat. I don't know. He's got too much big fluffy hair. I can't see what's going on. Okay. Does that get the neck across? Is that what you were after there, Elvin? Okay. So with that, I think I've kind of gone over all the major pieces of the neck. Did that help illuminate necks for you guys a bit? Did we learn something? Okay, good. Everyone's got something to take away from this? Did we have a fun time? Because now you can see how, why I should not have touched shoulders today. Because necks by themselves are, or no, neck, yeah. This is fun, not heck yeah. You edit that right now. Yes, okay. So, these are the big pieces. These are the major pieces. The takeaway I want you guys to walk away from this and keep for the rest of your lives, to say on your deathbeds to your loved ones, is when you're trying to learn anatomy, don't get caught up in all the nitty-gritty and the detail. Find the major landmarks and the major fundamental pieces and just study those. And then if you get lost, you just come back to them like a tried and true toolbox. You just go like, what the is this neck doing right now? You stop, take a deep breath, go, okay, where's the skull? Where's the spine? Where are the clavicles? Where are the scapula? Boom, there's your bones, right? Those, they can only do so much. And then you go, okay, where's the trapezius? Where's the trachea? Where's the sternocleidomastoid? I've then placed all my major landmarks. And then you can go in and start thinking about your skin. And then you just think about, how's the skin stretching? Is it folding? And after all that, boom, you got yourself a neck, and hopefully you're just smooth sailing and you're putting some scarf or a turtleneck and just having some fun with it. Cool? Can I get a bunch of neck yas? I saw that edit, thank you. A bunch of neck yas in the chat, and then we'll call this lecture and get back to having an excellent week. Neck yeah, neck yeah, neck yeah, neck yeah. All right. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. I'll leave you all there. Have a great week. Yeah, I'm having a good time too. Okay, I'm gonna hit the button. Yeah, bye-bye, everybody. Stay in drugs, don't do school. Peace.